Zoe, to start with, we need to make a cure. And what I mean by a cure is the salt, or, you know, you sometimes use a wet cure, which is called a brine, but a dry cure is what we're making now with salt, sugar, and some flavouring in it. I like to add flavouring as I make the cure, especially when I'm curing something as small and thin as a chicken breast.
Nice, I like that.
To start with, I've got some brown sugar here. It's about ½ a cup that I put it straight into the bowl there. And for each chicken breast, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of salt. So into my hand here, I'll put some salt. This is lovely flaky salt. You can use kosher salt if you like, or even rock salt if you want. But you need to add a little bit more rock salt if you're using that.
I do love your measuring cup.
There we go. You could use a tablespoon or whatever, but you know, I've used my hands for everything, and I reckon they're bang on accurate. There we go. Now to that, I'm going to add some chilli. And about a tablespoon of chilli, maybe a little bit more, dried chilli flakes.
Yep.
Now, what I'll do as well, Zoe, is I'll get you to grate this ginger nice and fine. 1 knob of ginger and the zest of 1 lime as well. Sure. Just put it together and throw it in here. Now, I love fennel seed. I use fennel seed in so many things, and whole fennel seed is great in a cure like this. About 2 tablespoons of fennel are perfect. You could, of course, Zoe, grind up the fennel if you want, but, you know, I reckon just whole fennel seed in there is beautiful. Now, what I'm going to add to this is some coriander. You could use parsley, thyme, whatever flavour you want, but I think with the chilli, the coriander will go really well. In goes the coriander. Now, Zoe, can you put the ginger and the lime zest straight in? And what I'll do now is just mix it around, and this is probably the fun bit. You want to mix the salt and the sugar and everything sort of together, so they're all sort of mixed in and combined. You can smell the flavour already on this.
Do you know what? I'm such a fan of fennel seeds. I mean, they're really good for you, but the flavour is so delicious. Now,
I'll give you a tip. Fennel seeds are really good if you have gas. Oh. Make some fennel seed tea, and this is coming from someone who has a lot of... There we go.
I'll stop you there. Well, the reason I can tell you why is because fennel increases digestive enzymes, so it helps to get the digestion working more effectively.
And remove the gas. There we go.
And remove the gas.
Now, I'll put a little bit of the cure on the bottom there, and I'll put the chicken breast on top of it. And what I'll do is I'll just pack the cure on top of it. I reckon this will cure for about an hour and a half. The salt will help to draw out the moisture from the chicken breast, and the sugar gets in there and sweetens it up because the smoke is a little bit bitter. So a little bit of sweetness in there helps. Now, I'm going to put some cling film over this, let it cure for about an hour or so, and then we'll pull the top off this, whack in some of these chips and smoke up a beautiful chicken breast.
All right, well, while you do that, I'll get started with mine. So I'm going to do it slightly differently and has a slightly sort of healthier edge to it. So it's very similar though. So basically what I'd love you to do is I'd love you to put about 4 tablespoons of good quality sea salt. And instead of using brown sugar, I'm going to use honey.
Oh, I like that. That's really good.
We know that obviously the salt is what's going to draw out the moisture, and like Adrian just beautifully said, the sweetness is going to help to cut that smoky bitterness that you get from smoking food. Pop that in there.
I like that. I thought I was going to have to bump your elbow there to get some honey in there, but that's a cracking amount of honey.
No, you actually need a good amount of flavour because remember we are going to lose a lot of that sweetness because it's actually drawing out a lot of the moisture anyway. Now,
I'm hoping you're going to let me mix this up.
So your hands are dirty, so...
There we go. I'll mix this up.
Onward bound.
There we go. And this won't take long. How long will you cure this for?
Again, about the same amount of time. I'm going to cure that for about an hour, wrap it in cling film, and I'm going to follow suit with you. I'm going to put a beautiful rub on this, put those wood chips on it, and we're going to smoke up some seriously tasty food.
I reckon I might just lick my fingers for a while. How's that? Zoe, you can see the salmon's cured beautifully and my chicken's cured beautifully. What you have to do now, though, Zoe, is just wash off some of that salt. Hopefully some of the chilli will stay on there, but we sort of wash off all the excess salt that's on there. And it's really important when you are smoking that you do dry it out. Look at that. You know, don't worry about any of this chilli and stuff. All the flavour's gone in there. Pop it on there like that. That's ready to smoke. You can see it sort of changed colour a little bit.
Yeah, it has.
You know when you have smoked food, smoked meat in particular, like ham and bacon, they've actually got pinkness in it. And that pinkness comes from the blood or the nitrites reacting with the haemoglobin. Technical stuff, but you will see a little bit of pinkness in it. Now, off comes the lid. What I'm going to do now, Zoe, is this is how we get the smoke. Our heat beads are blazing away, and I just lift that little part there.
Easy.
I've got some big chunks of hickory.
Great.
When you are smoking, make sure you're not using fence palings that have been treated and...
Very important, do not use treated woods. You do not want this experience to be, you know, a toxic experience.
Marred by death and destruction, that's the thing. You can see as soon as I put the wood on there, it started to smoke up. What I'm going to do, Zoe, that's nice and dry. Just make sure that's patted down. It looks nice and sort of firm, and by curing, it's almost a way of cooking it slightly.
Yeah.
But on will go my chicken. I'll put it on this side here, and you can see the smoke's coming up. If I leave the top off, you know that if I don't put the canopy over the top of this this Weber, the smoke will turn into flame, and that's what you don't want. By putting the lid on, it'll actually start smoking. This will take probably, I reckon, 15 minutes or so. This will go on, and I reckon it's time for you to do your salmon.
All right, so again, you can see exactly the same process has happened. All the liquids come out of the salmon. So I'm going to get you to soak that for me, and I'm actually going to make the rub that I'm going to use. So I thought it'd be nice to do a really spicy rub. I've got some cayenne pepper, and I'm going to use about 1.5 teaspoons. And I've got some smoked paprika, so about 1 tablespoon. I want to sweeten it up, so I'm going to use honey again, and probably only close to 1 tablespoon is all I need.
Now, that much cayenne pepper, I know it's going to have some punch to it. I love it.
Yeah.
My mouth is tingling already. There we go.
Right. Some sea salt, some normal pepper as well. And I always like to sort of balance a spicy rub like this with a bit of coriander or some sort of fresh herb. So perfect. I'm just going to chop up some fresh coriander.
Now, Zoe, I've made this a lot in my restaurant in Melbourne, where I've actually sugar cured the salmon. So we'll put a lot more sugar and a little bit of salt in it, let it sit overnight for about 24 hours, and then wash it off and you can slice it. I mean, you know, it's sort of like unsmoked smoked salmon is the best way to describe it.
Do you know what? I've actually eaten that at your restaurant and it was delicious, really good.
There you go, proof's in the pudding. There you go.
The best way to sort of explain this is exactly like you were saying before, particularly something like salmon. We don't need to actually cook it that much. The salt itself has actually cured and it's cooked the salmon.
So mix that through like that.
Perfect. Rub that through, get all that flavour through there for me.
And I'll get it all on my hands. I've got to be careful not to lick my fingers because this much cayenne pepper is going to kill me.
Don't rub your eyes either.
Beautiful. This is great. Well, these will take about 20 minutes. This will take about 10. I reckon we should wait for these to cook, put these on so they'll be ready at the same time. Now, Zoe, there's a couple of ways of smoking. This is hot smoking, where we actually smoke and cook the food at the same time. I think this is a great way of doing it fast, great flavour at it.
I'm excited.
Let's have a taste of this. Look at that.
It's going to blow your head off. Oh, yum. I absolutely love that.
Well, if we had some special effects of the steam coming out of my ears, that would be appropriate to put them in now. It is hot, but the moistness and the oiliness of the salmon is beautiful. Okay.
All right.
You went straight into that chicken. You're waiting to try that, aren't you?
I'm excited to try yours as well.
There we go. A little taste of that.
Those fennel seeds are superb in that. Really, really good.
Both of these have been excellent.
You know, both these dishes I'm so excited to make again. And you know what? I'm thinking of more creative ways to use this great technique for smoking.
I'm going back for seconds for yours, Zoe.